So I wanted to make sure that video that I did just a little bit earlier before this one, by the time y'all seeing it, was under 15 minutes, so I don't have to, cut anything out of it to post on Instagram, because if you follow me on there, the same content that you're getting on Facebook is the same content that you typically are getting on Instagram. But I did want to come back on here and say one more thing now that I'm thinking about it. And I'm just going to talk straight with you. One of the main reasons why I'm not a part of a fellowship now is because I point out things that need attention, and instead of there being a real conversation to where attention is put on the issue, and it's like, oh, let's talk about it. I value your input about what you have to say enough to consider it so that possibly things can change. Instead of that happening, what happens, what happens in church, because that's what I'm talking about. What happens in church is, and what has been my own personal experience, is that you get called dishonorable over the pulpit. You get called divisive over the pulpit, or through a nice, slick status by multiple pastors that piously look like they're trying to preach a word, but I see through it. You're not trying to preach a word. You're trying to preach on an actual subject, and instead of actually just straight up having a conversation, you want to go and write a status or preach a message about something that you actually should just have a meeting about in your office or call a person. Well, that's not an option that's open for me, because I'm not talking to nobody about nothing, because you know what you did, and what you need to do is repent. So before you call me, that needs to happen. But anyways, I came back on here to say, don't be calling people divisive or dishonorable because they see blind spots that you don't, because you think that your ministry is just absolutely so wonderful that, everything you're doing is right, and anybody else has got input on what you need to do has got to be dishonorable or divisive, because they're not agreeing with the peanut gallery or agreeing with the crew of yes men that think that you're just awesome and amazing. I make no bones about it. You're not. You may do some great stuff, but if all we getting over the pulpit or in any kind of context is how great you are, then there's an issue. And like I said in another video, it's just like Trump. Everything that Trump does is great. He's done more than any president before. His inauguration had more numbers than anybody. That's what you sound like. And everybody wants to talk about Trump and how he looks, but nobody wants to look at their very own leadership and see the pride that's just steaming from the pulpit. Nobody, for some reason, nobody wants to see. Everybody wants to become blind and call it honor, because you won't call somebody out on their crap. That's not honorable. That's not honorable. As a matter of fact, y'all who do that, y'all are dishonorable. That's dishonor to me, when you can see somebody in their crap, but you won't call them out for whatever reason. That's totally dishonorable. So I made a status, and I'm like, because plenty of people have been like, oh, well, if you got so many problems, then you should start your own church. Like I said in my status, first of all, there's only one church, and that's the Church of Jesus Christ. So I don't care what your church name is, what denomination you have, and all that crap. Let's just cut the crap right now. There is only one church of God, and that's the Church of Jesus Christ. Got many fellowships under many different names, but at the end of the day, there is one church. And that's the problem. The problem is, you can go to this fellowship and you rah about this fellowship, and you rah about this. No, we are all one body. And I think that that's something that we have forgotten. So that's one. So no, I'm not going to go and start my own church. What I will do is what I have started, which is trying to cultivate community. That it doesn't matter what church you go to, or if you even go to church at all. If you're a Christian, you are the church. The church is a community of believers. That's what the church is. No matter where we gather, whether we gathered at Walmart, whether we gathered in my home, whether we gathered in your home, a friend's home, anywhere in the absolute entire world, we are one church. So what my heart is to create and cultivate a community of believers. Not just have this popcorn church where we do big ministry, but then we got people that won't even talk to each other. We got pastors that feel confident enough to be shady over pulpits and not even talk to people. We got this faction and we got that faction, and we can unfriend people and not even know that they're unfriended or that they even be an issue and all of this crap. And y'all get mad at me for talking, but y'all gonna stay mad because I don't care. I really don't care about y'all madness, because at this point, y'all are the ones in the wrong. Unfriending me, unblocking me, tagging the people that I'm talking about and stuff that I'm talking about. Listen, I had a situation where, like I said, I'm not naming names. I'm not. But I had a situation where I was talking in a roundabout way about a pastor. And I pretty much said that, in a nutshell, I said, I don't care. I don't care if it's your dog. I don't care if it's your wife. I don't care if it's your daughter, your son. I don't care if I don't care if it's anything connected to you. If it's in ministry, then you need to hold it accountable. That's what I said. And then somebody was just like, oh, you mean? And then they tagged the person. Like, we got people like, don't do that. That's just absolutely messy. Because first of all, I was friends with that person. That person did not block me. And that person is a pastor. That person never blocked me. That person unfollowed me or whatever. I didn't ask this person to tag this person in my status. So, in so much that they did, then this person took it upon themselves to then unfriend and block me as a pastor in leadership. And it's just like, all right, it's whatever. I'm blocked. I'm unfriended. That's all well and good. It's not, because it's just like, you a pastor, you're somebody in leadership that's apparently unbothered. So if you, in as much as you unbothered, then why do you feel the need to block me? Why do you need to feel the need to unfollow me? Why do you feel the need to defend yourself to your congregation about me? So answer those questions. So instead of being unbothered, how about we just actually have conversations like I started this whole thing off? How about we actually have conversations in the church to where there are issues that people bring you that we can actually talk about so that we can actually be better? But you know why that won't happen? Because people already think that they have arrived. They think that their ministry is the best. They think that they're doing everything that God called them to do. And that's the absolute worst thing about it. The absolute worst thing about church pride is the fact that people claim that God told them to do something. That's the absolute worst thing. That's the absolute worst thing about a stubborn and prideful leadership, is that they honestly believe, like cross their heart and hope to die, they honestly believe that God told them to do this. And so because God told me whatever, because God told me, that gives me the license to be prideful. That gives me the license to be a bully. That gives me the license to not pay attention to anything that pertains to your feelings. That gives me the license to say that church hurt don't exist. Because God told me to be in this position, this just gives me the license just to be who I am. That is absolutely wrong. And that's another thing that's wrong with the people that want to rule the world through politics and like Trump and stuff. Oh, he's God's man. Talking about grabbing women by the private parts and all this other stuff that we just conveniently just overlook because he's supposed to be God's person. Just because somebody is God's choice, one, does not mean that it's a good thing. Too many people hiding behind the fact that they're chosen of God. And so they just take it upon themselves that if they're chosen of God, that they just get to do whatever they want to do. David, to my knowledge, I don't see where he was like, I'm God's man, so I get to go and have sex with Bathsheba. I never saw him pull out God as an excuse for killing another man's wife and for sleeping with her and marrying her. I haven't seen excuses of men of God who use God told them to excuse the fact that they have personal flaws. No, on the contrary, what I see flawed men that are actually repentant to God for sinning against them, and then they are corrected. But that's another thing. We using God and hiding behind God and as an excuse to be a sucky leader. We just are. It's just, I don't care what you feel about it. I don't care who you go back and tell. What I will say is if you go tell somebody about this live, if you got an iPhone, how about you go ahead and screen record this and share it. If you're going to tell what I'm doing, then tell all of it. Don't just take your bits and pieces. And if you got a problem with what I have to say, then make sure you watch the whole live before you try to come to me with some BS. Because that's what y'all do. Y'all like to go back and run y'all big, dirty, ugly mouths to people about stuff that you don't know the half of. My wife got in trouble for that crap. And she won't like when I said this, but I'm going to say it. She had a live about how the leader of the praise team ministry wasn't doing the things that we need to do. Her whole focus was leadership development or whatnot. And she made a live and she wasn't even specifically talking about the person. She made a fabricated thing about I work this job or whatever. Come to find out, they watched 5 minutes of a 30-minute segment. So you watch 5 minutes of a 30-minute segment and then she said, if you're gonna sit me down, then just sit me down. Oh, you're so extra. You know, why we need to do that? That's so harsh. But then tell me why, a week, 2 later, she sat down for that video because it hurt your pride and your insecurity? Come on, man. But this is what happens. People in the church like to trip. And then they like to come on and gossip. They need to come on lives and they talk about, I'm doing too much. No, you're doing too little. Main ones want to talk about the people that's not doing too much and want to throw shade and all this other stuff is carrying on the BS in church. Church is full of BS. It is. And I'm not taking that back. Instead of the church being full of the gospel, it's full of a bunch of BS. It's full of a bunch of BS. It's full of a bunch of drama from people that don't really care about God and really shouldn't be in the church and not even in places of leadership. But go ahead, look at me. Go ahead, look at me. Go ahead and carry on your drama and everything. Go ahead and gossip. Go ahead and paint the narrative the way that you want to paint the narrative. Go ahead and preach the message the way that you want to preach the message. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. God be the judge between me and you. Because I tell you, judgment is coming. It's coming. But go ahead and play. Go ahead and get your peanut gallery. Go ahead and make yourself feel good. Go ahead and insulate yourself by everybody that want to kiss your butt. Go ahead and do it. But one thing that I will not go down and that I will not let go answered, you ain't going to call me divisive. You ain't going to mischaracterize my heart without me having to say something about it. That's what you're not going to do. I'm not going to be mischaracterized. And I'm fine being mischaracterized if you want to keep that, but don't add insult to injury and go vomit up this lie to other people. I'm not for it. Start another church. There is one church, and that church is the Church of Jesus Christ. Never forget it. But we so busy doing big ministry, right? We so busy serving the vision of the house that the man of God says he gave him. How about you said keep going, keep doing. Yeah, we so busy serving the vision that the man of God says he gave him, totally stepping over the fact that this person is using God to be sinful. Just because God told you something don't give you the Just because God told you something does not give you any license to be ugly with me or anybody else. It does not give you the license not to listen or anything else. Y'all blind, man. Y'all got some big cojones. Oh, God told me to do this. So since when does God make you a bigger prideful person than you were before salvation? Answer me that. I don't care about them being angry. Answer me this question. Since when did God make you a bigger prideful person than before you got saved? It's the issue, man. It's the issue.